Go away. Okay, I think we are live.
I think so.
Yeah. All right, so no problem. Let's get, why don't we go ahead and get started?
Let's get started.
All right. So thank you everybody for joining this this episode of our FYI webinar series. We are live on Facebook, but we're also going to be posting this to our Politicus podcast and our YouTube channel. So hopefully you will all catch it somewhere on one of those platforms. Today we are talking about a topic that we just don't like to talk about in our community, which is addiction in the Portuguese community. Addiction is something that plagues people worldwide. It's something that we talk about a lot in the US generally, but not something that we like to talk about in our community. Just a couple of housekeeping things. If you are on Zoom, you can ask a question on the console through the chat module. If you're watching this on the Facebook feed, just type your questions down into the comments and we'll see it and we can address your comments at the end. Today's presenter is Alcides Machado, who is the president and founder of Portuguese Bom Samaritano Foundation. It's the only organization of its kind in the United States, which is addressing addiction in the Portuguese community specifically. And so thank you very much, Alcides, for being here today. It's a really important message and information to get out to our community. And so I'm going to hand it over to you. So just tell me when to click through the slides, Alcides.
Thank you for having me as part of this webinar, and thank you for all you do for the community. These are the type of events that we need to also focus on. The webinars and other meeting with other individuals who have influence in the community, such as you and PALCUS and other organizations, because that is true. We all have that addiction in our families. We all know somebody that knows somebody that either has a drug or alcohol addiction, and gambling, and so on and so forth. And we don't want to talk about it. And I really think that it's an issue that's been long coming, and we should have addressed it years ago. But of course, it's part of our culture to, if we don't talk about it, maybe it doesn't exist, which is unfortunate to a lot of us. It does happen in other cultures, but we're specifically talking about us Portuguese, and it needs to be talked about because it's a big issue. People don't want to talk about it for shame, because obviously addiction is not a glamorous topic to talk about. Mm-hmm. This foundation is not a foundation that focus on subjects that we all like to talk about and that we love to about our culture, but it's been forgotten. Not forgotten because it exists, but it's been put under the rug. And I'm glad that we're now talking about it. I've been dealing with this for 7 years because I've been sober for over 7 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And that's why I dedicated my life literally now to help the ones in need. We do have Portuguese who are homeless. And how do you know? Well, I know because I go there. I stop and look in their eyes, we drive through the streets, and I understand there's a lot of misconception about the homeless, but we don't understand it. unless
Mhm.
we really stop and talk to them and understand their story, their life.
Mhm.
People don't want to hear that we have Portuguese homeless people in our communities.
Mhm.
We're talking about the Valley, we're talking about the Bay Area, and it's a lot of them. As I have put um, some numbers out there, and by meeting one, you meet another one, and that one gives information about another one, so on and so forth. So there's a community of Portuguese homeless people in our,
Mhm.
and so part of helping anybody or anything is to get your hands dirty, you know, go out there and deal face to face with them. Uh, Going to people's homes whose family members are addicted, talking to the families. There's a misperception about the foundation that helps people who are addicted, but the in reality, we're helping the families who are suffering as a result of their loved one being addicted. We're helping the
Mhm.
elderly who are being abused because of addiction. We're helping the children who are suffering because of addiction in their home.
Mhm.
So it's not that we are helping the a person who is addicted. We offer counseling and treatment and all that. But in but in reality, it's the families who are suffering the most, and that's the ones we also do outreach to.
Great.
Um, we offer a lot of information and referral because obviously there are cases that I cannot manage by myself here because I'm the
Mhm.
only one who's a hands-on outreach person. We have a board, however, they have their place the to their own responsibilities to do. Um, our treasurer, our secretary, et cetera, they have their own hands full. So me being the only direct outreach person here, there's so much that I can do. So I do refer a lot of people to a lot of other organizations
Mhm.
and couples counseling, a children's network, elderly abuse, people who need help simply with emotional issues.
Mhm.
So I'm creating a network of different organizations that can work with us so I can refer people to. It makes my workload a little bit uh, uh, easier. So we do have, well, now it's because of the pandemic, we had to stop all of the meetings and everything. But yeah, we have this group support meetings on Tuesdays at 7 o'clock. People who are contemplating going to treatment, people who have gone to treatment, uh, and their families, they come and join our meetings. I've had a group of up to 15 Portuguese people here that uh, want to help themselves or families that want
Mhm.
to help their loved ones. Um, because of a lot of seniors being abandoned out in their houses, they don't really have anybody to talk to. We did the Senior Wednesday, and they come here to socialize. They play cards. They just talk to each other, talk to another human being, because we have a
Mhm.
lot of
Mhm.
seniors who are stuck at home. We
Right.
are yesterday, as a matter of fact, I was talking to someone regarding um, later on when we are more open, we can function better, is to get volunteers that who will actually one person will pick one or two seniors and they will call them once a week at least or check up on them more depending on the situation, but at least visit them, if not once a week, maybe once a month.
Mm.
And that's, but calling is very important. Do you need something? Do you need anything? Can I bring you something? So we're trying to establish this group of volunteers that will check up on seniors.
So if
Uh,
people out there are interested in volunteering, no matter where they are, they can get in
exactly.
contact with you, because if it's just a phone call, it doesn't matter where you are, right? So.
Yeah, if it's a phone call. But I've noticed, and this happened when we went to deliver soapage, when we did this free soapage delivery on May
Mhm.
31st. Um, as a matter of fact, this happened it had to happen because as people went out there, because we deliver to 100 and something residents, and at the end, people came to me, but I actually instruct most of them to keep an eye on where they were going and study the person. A lot of the people were seniors who were alone, and they probably would not have eaten sopas this year if it wasn't for us to deliver. So keep an eye on them, study them a little bit, and to see if they need someone to check up on them, if they need someone to call them. So I got some of those results back, and that's where that idea came, to call seniors. A phone call. Some people want to be home and have their privacy, but they're good on the phone, so we can still do that from anywhere. Because I do that, and that's one thing that we're really trying to get volunteers to help. And we do the intervention pre-treatment. That's something that we again, we do interventions at families, and either here at the office, or I go directly to their residence, depending on the situation. So pre-treatment, pretty much get the person ready to go to treatment. People have this idea of going to treatment as an institution. You get locked up, you get but I went to treatment for alcoholism over 7 years ago. I know what it is, so I can speak for what it is and how it is. It's not this monster. It's actually a very very good training for the rest of your life. That's what it is. You get trained on how to deal with your issues. You get the tools to fix yourself, literally. So that's what it is. And so after I talk to the person who's contemplating going to treatment, it makes it easy, the transition. When somebody wants to go to treatment, I talk to them. I literally go with them and drop them off at the treatment center. And we use a place here. It's Nirvana in Modesto. That's for women and also for men. We have a really good relationship with them. And as the person, when I take someone to treatment, I have easier access to the treatment place, so I can also visit them off visiting hours. So just make their experience a little bit more easier. So.
I think it's a good thing it's a good point that you bring up in terms of this misconception that people might think, oh, I'm going to have to go to a hospital, I'm going to be locked away for a week. And while there are those places, that's not always kind of what you're talking about. I think the other important thing to point out is that people might be saying, well, there's treatment, there's organizations all over the place that help with this. Why do we need one that's, focuses on the Portuguese community? And the thing is, it's different, right? There's some cultural nuances, and we you and your volunteers, you know how people in our community will react. What's the stigma? What's the, and so it's different than going to, let's say, an AA meeting where you don't know anybody, right? So no one's going to go gossip about the fact that you went there. And so that's always a concern for people, right? And so, the fact that you have 15 people in a group, I think that's fantastic and very brave of those people to take that step, and be willing to join this group. So, I mean, I don't know who those people are, but if you're listening, I would say, congratulations and keep going. It's really very brave, for sure.
There's something about counseling someone in their own language and knowing the culture, okay? Because when I was doing internship at the Nirvana Institute, because I speak fluent Spanish, so a lot of the Spanish speaking, we call clients, would come to me and talk to me about their feelings and their issues in their own language. So most of them would come to me because I'm not only speaking their language, I understand pretty much a lot of the culture. So it's easier to talk about it. I mean, and when someone that's Portuguese, first of all, I am obligated to keep confidentiality by the state.
It's important to know.
And the thing is, I as a person understand, especially in our culture, understand what it is to not let some information out, because I mean it's an explosion. It's a bad news goes way further than if good news, and we all know that. So they know they can confide in me, and they do. There's a lot of issues. This is why I speak the way I speak. This is why I talk the way I talk, because coming from the individuals that come to me and they tell me their lives, literally, uh,
Hmm.
we have a lot of issues, mental health issues, and
Yeah.
it was brought up. We have a lot of mental health issues that we just, again, just, oh, she's nervous. Oh, he's nervous. Oh,
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
so we just have to understand that um, many of our Portuguese people also suffer from PTSD, you know, and that being because back in the day, uh, I mean, if we don't talk about the issues now, imagine back in the day where people could not say anything.
Anything, yeah. And
They could not,
PTSD, for those who don't know, it's post-traumatic stress disorder,
right.
which is brought on by any number of things. It doesn't always have to be a violent act, right? There's a
Exactly.
lot of different types of trauma.
Yeah.
Even being a cancer survivor can bring on
Yeah.
PTSD. Yeah.
There's so much. And then the thing is when someone tries to talk about the issue, there will always be, I'll let it go, let it go. Okay, it's easy to say let
Right.
go because we're not interested. So we just say let go. But the person keeps on thinking about the issue, and so I even seniors that talk to me about their experiences years ago that have left a mark in their for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
You know, I have people who had one incident, one bad incident in their childhood, and that marked them marked their relationships, marked
Hmm.
with their significant other or with their children, what have you. It just we have,
Absolutely.
yeah, and they never wanted to talk about it. So and that's another thing about informing the community about what we do as an organization. You
Hmm.
know, uh, here I am sitting at my office. We're paying rent for this building where we have private meetings. We have the group meetings. We have the seniors coming in. Um, a lot of people don't understand what Portuguese Bom Samaritano does. And it's not just a drug and alcohol issue here. A lot of the things a lot of programs that we um, have sprung out from addiction, like immigration problems. You know,
Mm.
we deal a lot with immigration because obviously if somebody did drugs at some point and got in trouble, blah, 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 they end up having immigration issues. So, and then from and then we just started accumulating more and more programs in our organization because after all, well, if we take care of an immigration issue, or maybe we can take care of a retirement issue. And we had someone who was homeless, and he really didn't realize that he could get his retirement because he's about almost 70 years old. He had never
Mm.
gotten his retirement, so we took care of that issue.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
see things like that. Yeah.
yeah, and so trying to do these programs costs a lot of money to keep this place going. Mind you, that I'm here 7 days a week, normally 10 in the morning to 10 at night, because at night, a lot of people are out of work and they are available to come here or to talk. The homeless problem, again, I cannot stress it enough. I have been told to get out of Helmar. I have been told
Mm.
that I am a disgrace to the Portuguese community because I bring up these issues. About 28 people in San Jose are Portuguese people, mind you, are homeless. Helmar Turlock, they walk up and down here. Okay. So Los Banos, I was not too long ago next to a canal under a tree where a tent is, where a young man is living, you know, and that young man knows another 8 or 7, young men and young ladies who are living out in Los
Hmm.
Banos, Gastin area, Mantica Trace. I mean, You can
So,
go
Steve,
on.
why do you think people don't know about? I mean, obviously these folks have families somewhere. Is it that, you know, or they have traveled to other areas? I mean, I will say, as someone who lives in a Portuguese community, I would have never guessed that we have these kinds of numbers, and not that they're total number of that we have, right? But I mean, I think if you asked anybody in the Portuguese community, how many Portuguese homeless do you think there are in San Jose? They'd probably say, oh, fathom in their mind that there could be a Portuguese homeless person. So why do you think that these folks go unnoticed, essentially?
Well, because, normally it's like not in our community, not Portuguese,
Mm-hmm.
we don't want to accept that 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 we're not perfect, we all have us, yeah. So yeah, we are proud, and they always said this, and again, I speak the way I speak because I'm there physically,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and what happens is, uh, a lot of people, they don't want to hear that we have homeless Portuguese people. I had a few meetings and they're like, "Oh, come on, are you serious? We have Portuguese people who are homeless." And I'm like, "What bubble do you live in?" Because people really sometimes live in a bubble,
Yeah.
and they don't allow themselves to be a little bit more open-minded from the world that they live in. And really, and by the way, I always hear, I'm proud to be Portuguese. These t-shirts, proud
Yeah.
Portuguese. Okay, well, let's be proud and help out the ones that are in need.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is how you find out more by experience. When I was active in my addiction to alcohol, okay, I was put to the side. See,
Mm.
you're no good. It's like, you're no good. Just like a lot of Portuguese people that are out there homeless, it's because they're, you know, I know that many of them don't want help because it comes back to the mental health. Mental
Mm-hmm.
health, if somebody is not okay, I don't think anybody ever said from childhood. I don't think anybody, if you ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I want to be a drug addict and a homeless. Yeah. No, you don't. That's not the answer. Somewhere along the way, some things happened, and we can blame or point the finger. Something happened that led that person mentally, physically, whatever, to get to that point. And what better opportunity for all of us as Portuguese to get that person, just like the foundation does, and turn their life around, you know? So that's an argument that I always have. I don't know if you're there. You getting in and out, so I'm not. I think you froze. Are you still there? Anyways, until she comes back, there you go. Now I can see you.
Yeah. Sorry. I told you this would happen.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. We whatever reason somebody got to that point of being homeless or drug addict or alcoholic, um, the fact that they are, what a better opportunity for us as Portuguese and be proud, is to actually help each other. Not kick them to
Right.
the curb literally when they are in a bad shape. We're doing it
Right.
backward. When somebody's all good in their tie and everything, it's all nice. But then when somebody is down, it's almost like we want to stomp on them. And we have to be
Yeah.
very careful with that because we're all human beings. And if we don't take that step to help each other, then we're no better than the one on the side of the road or any other culture.
Right.
We blame other cultures like, oh, if my daughter wasn't hanging out with that whatever, I'm not going to mention other cultures, then none of this would have happened. And that's another thing that comes to racism, is like
Mm-hmm.
we seem to blame other races for our issues when
Mm.
our race sometimes is the starter of another issue. Uh,
Yeah.
we have, like I said, alcohol cases right now that are active within our organization. I'm dealing with, about 57 cases. 2 more just came in yesterday. Drug cases. Because our average, the older you are, the alcohol seems to be more of the problem. The younger
Right.
ones mix the alcohol and drugs, and the drugs are really kicking on the younger ones, on their 30s, 40s. Domestic violence. I have someone call every once in a while, different, uh, mostly women that call for help because their husband is not just physically abusing them, but mentally abusing them. And from that, the children are suffering. The elderly, which is, or the in-laws, whatever, they are suffering too. So I get calls at
Yeah.
middle of the night, you know. So we and I try my best to do what I can, being the only one here, but somebody has to do it. And if God chose me to do it, so glory be to him, and that's the way it is.
So it's interesting that the path of the organization has really expanded, right? Because I think you started with addiction, but now you're uncovering some of these other issues like domestic violence.
Yeah.
And that has been something that, I think people have tried to raise awareness about for a long time. But to your point, everyone just says, don't talk about that. That doesn't happen in our community. Oh, he just got upset, or she just got upset, So, but it is a very real thing. And so it's so important that people see these numbers. And I know that you focus mostly on California, but I think you said you do have some people from other states that have reached out to you as well. Is that true?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
From the other parts of the United States, and even Portugal, because now we FaceTime, we talk on the phone, and I put myself available to these people because, again, people are suffering. You have no idea how much people are suffering in silence. And all I'm trying to also be is the voice for those people, because you have an abused husband, for example, and for the macho, the macho culture in our Portuguese men, you don't want to admit that the woman beat you up. So and there are a lot of cases on that, and sometimes they just need to talk about the issue, or the issue
Yeah.
that their wife is also addicted, or their wife is an alcoholic. So it's even harder sometimes for a man to keep that secret of being abused than it is to a woman. However, women's cases as victims, there's a lot.
Yeah. So I know we have a few slides that just talk about broad statistics about, drugs in the US, and drug-related deaths, which are quite high, according to the CDC. And this was only as of 2018. Alcohol-related deaths, which includes alcoholism, right? Just straight
Right.
drinking
I mean,
yourself
anything.
to death.
Yeah. Alcohol poisoning. A lot. I mean, you'd be surprised that how many people just, oh, he was sick of something, or he was. There's always an excuse to cover up what it is, but in the hospitals, there's a reality of, oh, he has some liver issues. No, he or she died from cirrhosis of the liver because of they just don't put because of alcohol.
Alcoholism, yeah.
So it's hard to talk about that. And here we go.
Domestic violence, yeah.
Domestic violence that we touched on. I mean, and you see there the information on 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men. They've been victims of physical. I mean, you'll be surprised what makeup does to women. I don't know how. Well, the men will say that they got in a fight with another guy, or that they were out there at work and bumped their head. But you'll be surprised what makeup do to women who are abused.
I think that's a pretty high rate for men as well. And then again, something that people either are unaware of or don't want to admit, to your point about the machismo aspect, that no man wants to admit that they are abused by their wife. But that's a fairly high rate, surprisingly.
It is. And I've had cases where You see, I mean, people do come to me because, especially the ones who don't speak much English, and they need to express themselves in the Portuguese language. Because how do you send a Portuguese person to a counselor or a psychologist or what have you that speaks only English? And even in the Spanish, it's still not our culture. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I I
Yeah.
I, I speak our culture. I speak our language. You know, and they feel more at home and more of an understanding from my side that they can really talk in a comfortable way without worrying about what word I'm going to use, but how I'm going to express my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we
This is, I think, really important too, because we're all dealing with the pandemic, right? And a lot of us are stuck at home or have at least severely limited our, where we go and how often we go out. Um, how, let's say somebody knows about some abuse that's happening, or that, somebody's, they're witnessing somebody drinking more than normal or things like that. How does it work? Do they call you and they explain their situation, and then do you advise them to talk to that person? Do you call that person? Like, how does the process work? Because I think there's a lot of us that are thinking, I know somebody who could probably use some help, but that person's never going to ask for help. So how do you get them help?
there's it's a
Especially during this pandemic.
it's very sensitive. This whole thing is very sensitive. We have to act very cautiously around this issue. And by the way, during the pandemic, a lot of people called because they were having panic attacks. They were having people who used to drink on weekends, come work hard out there, etc., and get home. I deserve a beer, I deserve a shot or something, whatever.
Mm.
They got stuck at home and they started drinking every day, and they discovered that they were alcoholics. And then after that, some of them reached out because they needed help, but the treatment places were closed. So I was left like, oh, what do I do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the issue about, well, I have calls like, and unfortunately, mental health has not been addressed enough in this country, because there are people who are literally abusing their family left and right, and there's nothing that the police can do. There's nothing that the doctors can do. You can just get somebody here, go to treatment. Uh, it's we have our hands tied in a sense that we can't just force somebody to go to treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, somebody has to really commit a crime, okay,
Hmm.
to be put in jail, and then only a judge can force someone to go to treatment or else. I've had cases that's exactly what happened, because you cannot force someone to go to treatment, and a lot of these people that and they are abusing, like I said, abusing their families. They know that, so they know how to play the game too.
Right.
So and it's become to a point that you put somebody on a mental health hospital, they can only be there 72 hours, and that's it. You're out. And sometimes it's just you know revolving door. They just go in, go out, and they come back and do the same thing. So the laws are in such a way that it's very hard to send somebody to treatment against their will. But I get some people like, could you call my brother, because could you call my son? I can't just pick up the phone and
The
call
phone
them.
and call, but yeah.
That is
So
so
maybe,
unethical.
yeah. So maybe, we need to put together some materials on, and maybe you already have these and we're going to talk about that, but if you know somebody that needs help, here's a pamphlet you could give them. Here's, we encourage you to bring them to this group. Maybe we should, we help host some Zoom support groups since you can't do them in person
Mhm.
anymore. There's a lot of things that maybe we could do. To let people know that there is a resource for help out there. And two, that, you know, even though you can't go somewhere physically, here are some actual steps and other things that can do. So I mean, that's something that, you know, can be
Right.
worked on. And mhm,
The thing is, a lot of people, the issue is like, what do you mean I have a problem? You guys are the ones with the problem. You know, this, we get
yeah,
that a lot. So it's a lot of resistance. And many times is the person literally, when they hit bottom, that's when they start looking for help, you know. And
mhm,
and I always say the person has to call me, because the fact of picking up the phone and calling me, it's one step, you know, it's already one step towards, you know. So and that's a lot of talk that we need to do to our Portuguese
yeah,
community. So
yeah.
and yeah,
This,
we have
this is
more.
an important point, I think, here, especially when it comes to children. And you're talking about how, you know, the addiction part, it's not just the person who's addicted that is affected, it's the families. And if, you know, if there's any, you know, anybody that you're going to do anything for, it's children, because they're vulnerable
Right.
and can't defend themselves. And it's not a surprise that, you know, you have your child protective services are seeing a significant increase in calls. Um, so you know, from your perspective, I don't know if you have seen an increase in you know, abuse towards children specifically, but you know, I think that's it. You know, as a community, we are very protective of our children,
Mhm.
and so that would be a motivation in itself, right, to seek help and try and get others help.
Yeah, well, we do have. Uh, there's also this fear of being discovered that the children are suffering, because God forbid the child protective service comes and gets your kids out of the house. You know,
Mm,
then the whole secret is out. You know, so a lot of the suffering that these children are going through is also part of that keeping the secret type thing.
mm,
But there are either neighbors or friends or something who will see that, and they will call so they can do a wellness checkup. You know, so there has to be uh, these calls. They increase definitely because of just what I just said. They used to drink mostly on weekends. Now they're home. A lot of couples
mm.
are together like for the first time, um,
All the time, yeah,
all the time, and
yeah.
so they rediscover each other and they argue and they and these months that we had of people staying at home really did a number on domestic violence,
Mm,
divorces. A lot of people file for divorce because, you know, they just don't get along, and these kids are supposed to be learning at home, but no, they are listening to their parents yell at each other.
yeah.
So and this, a lot of this due to drug and alcohol abuse. So it's a job that never ends, you know. It's it's not easy to deal with alcoholism and drug addiction. It makes it even a little harder to deal with it in our culture.
Hmm.
So it makes the job a little bit harder. So
But
it's
again, that's why your organization is so needed, right? Because people need someone who understands the nuances of being Portuguese and the stigmas that, you know, are seen within the community, and they can relate to you. Like you don't, they don't have to explain to a non-Portuguese group, you know, support group,
right.
why perhaps the traditional methods aren't going to work here, because, you
Hmm.
know, we're extra judgmental, we're, you know, extra in denial, we're in, you know, there's a lot of things that kind of go along with being Portuguese that, you know, you and your staff have the knowledge because you're Portuguese, right?
Yeah,
And you know
and
that.
and and I've been trying to reach out to other Portuguese organizations of such um, for not only the financial help that we so much need, because we're non-government funded, mind you.
Mhm.
Okay, we pay our rent and electricity and all that uh, just by the fundraisings that we do. So I reach out to other organizations that not only for, like I said, financial reasons, but also to spread the word. And you'll be surprised how many Portuguese organizations don't really want to go there. They don't really want to touch the subject, and they just put it aside. I've had people attend dinners on my behalf
Mhm.
with brochures to, and the people were told, this is not really the place for it.
Oh
So
God.
this is in our uh, uh, Portuguese community. So we really need to engage more with each other. I do have quite a few as far as law enforcement. I have, uh, I'm gathering a list of not only people as Portuguese attorneys, but also
Hmm.
people in law enforcement that deal with parolees who speak Portuguese. We're getting in contact with them because they can also help us in one way or the other as far as law enforcement. And I discovered that we have quite a few Portuguese people who are in law enforcement, which I want to get more information and get more
Yeah, that's
involved.
actually a good thing to put out there. So what kind of volunteers you're looking for? You said people in law enforcement, um,
Educate
attorneys,
attorneys, educators,
educators,
um,
people that deal with health, like public health, maybe nurses, maybe those in
social workers.
psychology,
Yeah,
social workers. Okay.
we have Margaret Peak, who's wonderful at being involved with the organization, because as a social worker, she really has started doing wonderful work for us. Um, he, Recording volunteers again. Here we go with the seniors, having somebody that can call one or two seniors. People that, I mean, we because we've expanded so much, we need people in all kinds of areas, because I don't
Mhm.
know everything. I know what I know, but I don't know what I don't know, you know.
Right.
So, and it's uh, to educate the community about the foundation. What is it that we do, you know?
Hmm.
And there's a lot of misperception of what we do. And mind you, we don't have that much help from the Portuguese media either.
Hmm.
So it's, again, we're not this glamour organization. We deal with homeless Portuguese. We deal with drug and alcohol addicts. So we don't fit some social types
Right.
in the community. And so we've been pretty much outcasted by a lot of organizations just because they don't want to go
That's
there.
really unfortunate. It's unfortunate to hear because we do have a lot of halls and clubs and organizations that could help spread the word about this resource. And it's only doing a disservice to the community to not let people know that your organization exists, because people out there need help, whether people want to admit it or not. There's a need.
We do an
So,
event, for example. I mean, let's say at the end of a festa, you're cleaning the hall the next Monday after, and you look
mhm.
back, did you save a life?
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
Other events that I've seen in the Portuguese community, you know, uh, that I look for donations. I look for their understanding. I look for there's a hall right down the street where we were going to do a dinner. It was reserved for, it was for free, of course, because it's hard to pay the rent for our rent here, much less to rent a hall.
Mhm.
And a few days before the event, they called, you know what, we had a meeting and we really can't give it to you for free. So it's going to be $2,000. Well, $2,000 is what we pay for somebody's treatment. Because if somebody cannot go to treatment, they cannot afford it, we
Mhm.
try to get money to pay for that person's treatment
Mhm.
also. And it was just a slap in the face, just like other organizations that I send a letter asking for help. In that
Yeah.
their meeting, they ripped the letter apart and put it in the garbage and left. So
Oh my God, really?
it happens in
So
our communities, in our Portuguese halls.
So we just got a question, Elsie, which is exactly kind of what you are talking about. And it says, how do we go about solving the stigma around these open discussions, especially since it appears that our community does not want to discuss alcoholism or drug abuse? I mean, I think just forcing like having more conversations, more of these, right? So
Talk,
more
talk,
Zoom
talk
conversations,
about it.
more, yeah, just talking about it.
Talking about it.
So we need to do more of these then, you know?
And if instead of uh, crossing misinformation,
Mhm.
um, call me.
Yeah.
I'm working. We have two brochures, one in English, one in Portuguese. Yeah, this is the letter that we write. These are two, and I'm actually doing one that's
Mhm.
English and Portuguese because it's hard to afford to print 200 in Portuguese and 200 brochures in English. So I'm trying to do one, so we have less expense. But these brochures pretty much go deep in the information of what we do,
Mhm.
and just one of my hopes is that we are proud to be helping our community.
Arts,
You know, and
yeah.
as we have about 100 organizations in California, you know, that I asked to help us. I know that they give
Yeah.
15,000 to this organization, 20,000 to this, or 10,000 or 5,000 to this. I'm not asking to transfer that money to us. But instead of 5,000, if you give 4,000 to them, 1,000 to us, that would be really good. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
it because we are saving lives. And I'm telling you this,
Yeah.
there's no other organization that I know, Portuguese in the United States, that saves lives.
Right.
That's just the way it is.
One of the things that you guys have been doing, and I, we should have included a screenshot here, but you've posted so far, I believe, two um, case studies, if you will, of people that you have helped. Right. One
It's up
was
to
a
three now.
gentleman. It's up to three now, and I think that is incredibly important because you're putting a face with the problem, right? And it's
Yeah.
not just this nebulous thing that's out here it affects other people. It doesn't affect me, right? Because I remember the first person you put out there, I had known him most of my life, and I had no idea, right, that he had a problem. And it was. I think first, I think it's great that you're doing that, but I also think it's very brave for these people to be willing to share their story, because again, they're putting themselves in a vulnerable position, in the community to be criticized and what have you. But the positive impact that they will have serving as an example, that you can make a change, that you can get help, and that this organization is helping. I think that's such a much more powerful, important message than worrying about what, as they say, the Mashidi Kadish
Yeah.
are going to say about you, right? So I think that has been incredibly helpful, and thank you for doing that. Continue telling those stories,
Yeah.
and thank you to the three of those individuals that have shared their stories as well.
Yeah, because I have in some of our events, fundraising events, uh, there's always the speculators and people who go there just to really sometimes just to check and see what's going on. And
Mhm.
I had quite a few people come to me. Where's the people that do you help? Where's the people that you help? I mean, this is confidential. This is highly confidential.
Confidential.
It's about somebody's private life.
Sure.
And for somebody, I mean, I I knew I had to do this. I'm a very public person, you know that. It was not easy, but I needed to say, I went to treatment for alcohol abuse, and this is what I am now.
Hmm.
And my life now has become this, to reach out and help other people, you know, and for them to come out and tell their story. Yes, I love that. And
It's
okay,
really powerful.
this app that we it's and by the way, please look on. We only have it on Google Play for now. Then we're gonna get it on other iPhones and stuff. But to put it on iPhones, it costs $100 a year. So that's another cost for us.
Hmm.
To put on Google Play, our app was only $25, and it's playing. But it costs an actually $100 a year to put on iPhones. But this app, okay, is being built and maintained by a homeless Portuguese kid that was brought to me 4 years ago. Okay.
Hmm.
He's got a job. He's gotten married. Okay. And
Wow.
he's taking courses online because he's actually building video games. Very smart kid. He was just
That's
out.
fantastic.
It just unfortunate that he was living on the streets. Okay. So, and by the way, when we give out these scholarships and we have these ceremonies and all that, this is a kid that needs a scholarship. He's
Yeah.
working, paying for his own education, yet yet he's building this app for us for free out of his own heart. That's the kid that
That's
needs.
amazing. That's a great case. That's another story that's very powerful to share.
Yeah.
LCJ, I want to just be cognizant of time. We have about 7 minutes left to get through the rest of our slides. The good thing is that this is being recorded. It will be shared. We'll have the PDF of the slides available. Those will be shared. And I think we should do more of these, but I know we do have a couple more slides to share. Here's a flyer from one of your events. So I would say if there's any other organizations out there that are willing to host an event, like you said, give the venue for free, perhaps donate the food. There could be lots of organizations that come together to make that happen. But you know, it's a good number to know that it costs $2,000 to treat one person, right? So at a minimum, we're raising funds for treatment of those who are addicted. So it's really important to know those numbers.
And I really want to thank Carlos Vieira Foundation for their interest in helping us. They have been very involved. Carlos Vieira Foundation has been a blessing in these past 2 years of really supporting us. And my hat goes out to them, 5150, all that they do. And they do have a program for prevention of drug abuse also. So we are very connected on that, and I want to really thank them for being there for us.
That's great to know.
Yeah,
that's great to know.
Really good to us. And
so a call out to everybody watching, listening, that go and like the Bom Samaritano Facebook page. Are you on Twitter, Instagram? What are some of the other social media?
Instagram, Facebook. We're trying to get out there. I try to do as much as I can on my own. It's been difficult because I'm a trained listener also. Today I have to talk a lot, but I'm a trained listener. And while I'm on the phone with someone or face to face with someone, it's hard to be, working social media. So, and really, like I said, we only have these, Portuguese radio doesn't have us. So we're just depending on social media, and the Portuguese newspaper has been great. Has been really good with us too. So
that's good to hear.
Yeah, we're trying our best. I want to thank everyone who has reached out, and please just spread the word and educate each other of what we are. And it's okay to talk. It's okay to help another Portuguese person that's down. I made this pledge to God and to myself that I want to. Music is my part-time thing. I'm dedicated here, and we're doing this for free, mind you. We're doing this for free.
Right.
So I mean, I could make this a business, but this is not what I'm about. We're about helping people out there, not making money. Unfortunately, some people, if they don't see money coming, they don't want to. They are not interested. So yeah, I'll serve for free.
Yeah.
The government.
So here's some information. Oh, the government, the Açores, is giving you €1,000 a year. So it's
and that
it's
helps,
helpful.
Yeah.
But here's an opportunity if anyone out there, would like to make monthly donations or a yearly sponsorship. You have here $500 or $50, but truly any amount would help. Of course, more is always helpful. Your email address is pbsfusa@gmail.com. So for those who want to get in touch with you, whether it's to donate or to seek help, right?
Seek help, and they can call me at my numbers everywhere. We're also, I put PBSF USA because we have PBSF Azores coming soon.
Okay.
That's another topic for us to talk some other time.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you. We are, at our time, but again, we could talk for hours about this. You have my commitment that we will have another conversation, another webinar about this topic. Maybe we'll bring on some of those folks that have shared their stories, and they can share their story and, connect with some people and encourage those who need help to seek the help that they need. But thank you for starting this organization. Thank you for all the help that you have given to the community, the lives that you've saved. I mean, it's incredibly noble work, Alcide. So Parabéns to you and your staff. It's
Thank
really
you. I
great.
want to thank my board of directors and all the volunteers that do a wonderful job. There are the Buhek Pentecost and Crossline Pentecost who have given their hall once a year for us to do at least 2 events per year, which does help a lot. Although we need more events per year in other cities, but and everyone else who's thank you for having interest in this and doing the wonderful job that you do for the Portuguese community, and everyone else that that's out there that one way or the other have helped us with donations and you know, God bless all of us Portuguese, and may we be more understanding of our difficulties, and let's lift each other up. You know.
It's an excellent message to end on. I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just a quick another announcement here. We are still, PALCUS is still accepting donations to sponsor meals for the elderly. If you can go to our website, palcus.org/sponsor a meal. And we are providing these donations to organizations such as MAPS, Immigrants Assistance Center, POSU, and Valer, who are feeding the elderly and taking care of them you know, during this pandemic. All these webinars are archived on PALCUS website and as well as YouTube. And now this one will be on our Facebook page as well because we were live. There are opportunities to sponsor the webinar. So if you're interested in that, please let us know. And with that, we're going to call it a day. But thank you again, Alcide. Thank you everybody out there for watching and listening. And until next time.
Thank you.
Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.